the channel, welcome to another video. With the World Cup approaching, the Premier League becomes a bit of a distant memory. So, as part of the last bit of content that we're going to be doing on the Premier League season so far, I'm going to be doing my Premier League team of the season as of right now, before obviously the World Cup all kicks off. We switch into World Cup mode tomorrow, where I'll be doing a bit more World Cup based content. But for now, we're going to be doing the last little bit of Premier League content on this for this year, I guess you'd say, for the first half of the season. It's going to be my Premier League team of the season so far. Before we get into all of that, though, I would like to remind you all to please like this video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and probably greatly appreciated. But for now, let's get into this team of the season so far. Okay, for goalkeeper, we're going to start with Alisson Becker. Now, yes, I will admit there's a little bit of bias here. Me being a Liverpool fan, me shoehorning a Liverpool player into a position where possible, but just hear me out, because I believe Alisson Becker has been the best goalkeeper this season. I genuinely do. I don't think Liverpool's current issues and current problems and current stance in the Premier League table is in any way, shape or form down to this man at all. I think he's been incredible for Liverpool, and I think if it hadn't been for him, things would have been a hell of a lot worse. He's very rarely put a foot, or should I say, really put a glove wrong this season. He's made some outstanding saves. He's kept Liverpool in certain games. He's kept Liverpool in winning positions in certain games, and he's even managed to claim Liverpool vital points in what has been so far for the Reds a pretty poor season by their standards and expectations. Other notable mentions should go to the likes of Bernd Leno at Fulham. I think he's done a great job in helping Fulham to where they currently are. I think Ederson is somewhat overrated, but again, shouldn't be missed for some of the performances he's done this season. Obviously, Arsenal goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale has been great as well. Yeah, there's been a few decent goalkeepers. You can also look at Nick Pope for Newcastle as well. Great performances all around. And I am kind of shoehorning a Liverpool player in there somewhere just because it's my team. But at the same time, I think Alisson Becker has been absolutely outstanding this campaign so far. At right back, we're going to go with Kieran Trippier. Newcastle are flying high in the Premier League right now, and it's somewhat down to their outstanding defence that Kieran Trippier is a part of. Trippier is part of a Newcastle defence that has the joint best defensive record so far this campaign, only conceding 11 goals throughout the entirety of the campaign so far. And of course, Trippier is a big part of that. At right back, Trippier, we know about Trippier and how he can go forward, how his crossing is very, very good. He's very good from set pieces as well. He scored a couple of very good set pieces this season and produces threat from those wide areas with that very talented right foot of his. He has been a very, very good signing for Newcastle, a very shrewd and very not massively blown out of proportion kind of signing or wild signing, considering Newcastle's newfound riches, of course, but a very smart signing by Eddie Howe and by Newcastle, and so far he's proving to be. And I think that with the inconsistencies of the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think with the injuries to Reece James, I think it's kind of helped Trippier a little bit in maybe getting this sort of accolade, if you like, and maybe being more recognised as one of the better performing right backs in the Premier League right now. Not that Reece James hasn't been, I just think that Reece James's injuries have kind of done him a little bit of disservice in this. But Trippier for me has been outstanding consistently, and that is why he is going in this team. At centre backs, we're going for Arsenal's William Saliba and Manchester United's Lisandro Martinez. Now, Saliba has been managed brilliantly by Mikel Arteta, it seems. We were all questioning why he wasn't getting in the squad. Why was he being sent out on loan? Why did they pay so much money for him if he wasn't going to be featuring in the Premier League and Arsenal's squad at all? Turns out Arteta was priming him ready to be fit enough, to be talented enough, to be physically ready for the challenge of the Premier League by sending him out on loan, sending him to back home to France, and making sure he was fully prepared for the task at hand, because he has been outstanding for Arsenal this season so far. Like I said earlier, Arsenal and Newcastle have got the joint best defensive records in the Premier League currently, and Saliba is a big part of why that is for Arsenal. He scored a few goals as well. He's helped keep a few clean sheets along the way. He's a threat from set pieces. He's a good, useful ally to have in defending set pieces. He's confident and complete with the ball at his feet. He's a very, very good defender that has become one of the best so far this campaign. His partner in this kind of team I'm building, Manchester United's Lisandro Martinez, he's been outstanding too, proving that all the pre-season talk about his height and everything along those lines was just all talk. He's been great. I can't really. I've got to say, I've got to give him his props. I've got to give him his credit. He's been great. What he makes up for in terms of lack of height, he more than makes up for in terms of when the ball is on the ground, when the ball is in and around the penalty area. He throws his body on it. His tackling is great. He's great. He's great, and I think that he actually does hold his own in terms of his aerial duels. He's very smart about it. Yes, there are going to be some moments where he is going to get beat in the air and whatever, because that's just the way that it works in terms of your height and everything. But I think it is time that maybe some pundits decided to give this guy some credit and take away some of the slack that he's been getting, because like I say, he's been great. A lot of talk about whether he'll be able to cut it in the Premier League, whether he'll be able to cut it in terms of the physicality level, in terms of the height level of the Premier League. That is seemingly a requirement. He's proving it's not necessarily a requirement, and that if you're good enough and you're smart enough, you can handle whatever this league throws at you. And he is proving that. And I've got to, as much as it pains me to say, being a Liverpool fan, that he is handling it, he definitely is handling it. And has been a great signing for Manchester United. Moving on to left back, and this one was a very difficult call because I don't think there's been really any left back that's kind of stood out for anyone really. I think all the left backs have been pretty mediocre to average, I guess, if that is possible. I could have gone for Andy Robertson. I think Robertson's got 4 assists so far this season, and I think out of the Liverpool back line, apart from obviously the goalkeeper Alisson, I think he's been the only one to perform to an acceptable sort of standard. But I'll go with João Cancelo. I don't rate him completely as one of the best fullbacks in the league as much as everybody else does. I think he's great. I think that he's very good attacking wise. I think he's still got some question marks over him defensively. I think he's great in a possession based team like Manchester City. But at the same time, I see all that talent and still have question marks over his overall defensive ability that I think doesn't get called into question enough. But at the same time, like I say, I don't think the standard of left back has been amazing this season. Like I say, I could have given it to Andy Robertson. I think he's been great. I think the makeshift left back in Dan Burn for Newcastle has obviously been great. Hence why it's got them to where they are, Newcastle. Sessegnon, has been okay for Tottenham. More attacking wise than defensively, I will admit. But yeah, like I say, I don't think the Salah left back has been that great this season. So João Cancelo takes it for me, only just over Andy Robertson. I try and be a bit fair. I already shoehorned one Liverpool player into this team, so we'll give it to João Cancelo. But again, this one is very much up for debate. Moving on to the midfield, and this one was a bit more tricky to put together three midfielders because we are going for the classic 4-3-3 that everyone seems to play now. A lot of contenders for this one. So first and foremost, we're going to go with pretty much the obvious one, Kevin De Bruyne. Manchester City's Kevin De Bruyne. Pretty obvious, pretty standard, this one I think, because obviously De Bruyne has got the most assists in the Premier League so far this campaign. He's on 10 assists. Obviously having one Erling Haaland up front, who I'm pretty sure we're going to be mentioning later in this video. Obviously helps with that. It was kind of the partnership that we all expected to take shape, and has taken shape instantly in the Premier League so far this campaign. And other than that, creating plenty of chances, plenty of assists, scoring a few goals himself as well. It seemed a pretty much no-brainer, this one, that Kevin De Bruyne was going to be in this kind of team. Next up, we've got to give him his credit. It's Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka of Arsenal, very, very much improved from the Granit Xhaka of old, and it's insane to think that obviously a couple of years ago or even last year we were talking about how Xhaka's Arsenal career was over. Some of the antics that he was doing on the pitch, his inconsistencies on the pitch, were all forcing Arsenal to kind of sell him and everything. And then suddenly, all of a sudden, he's insane. He's actually been very, very good this season. He's been very consistent in a good way. Arteta's got him in this more attacking mindset kind of role, which is seemingly helping him. He's very influential in the Arsenal midfield now. And he's one of their better players. He's one of their best players. He's been arguably one of the best midfielders of the season, and that is why he gets into this team. I can't speak highly enough of Xhaka and how he's managed to turn things around at Arsenal. Will it continue going forward? Obviously remains to be seen, of course, but like I say, he's very rarely put a foot wrong this season as Xhaka, and that's saying something considering that when you looked at him before, you were looking at him, and even if he was having a decent game or an okay game, or even a good game, you'd still expect him to make that one complete and utter mistake that would ultimately cost Arsenal the game. So far this season, that hasn't happened, and although we shouldn't be just applauding the basics of being a footballer and everything, he has very much improved, and that definitely needs to be recognised. So, well done, Granit Xhaka. Our third midfielder, this one is going to be tricky because I don't know whether to give props to a centre defensive midfielder or go for another kind of attacking midfielder. Now, I'll say the centre defensive midfielder because I'm actually going to go for the attacking one. The CDM in question is Tottenham's Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. He has been great for Tottenham this season. I think he's been one of their most consistent players for Spurs. He's chipped in with a couple of goals as well, but mainly it's his hard work, his covering of the pitch, his tackling, his work rate, everything that goes sort of unnoticed away from goals and assists that kind of has got him an honourable mention in this team, because I think that he has been great for Spurs. I don't think Spurs have been great overall and as a unit, but I think he and Harry Kane have obviously been the standout performers in that Tottenham team this season, and I think that he deserves recognition for that. However, in saying that, I am going to go with a more attacking one, and I can't look past James Maddison. James Maddison has been exceptional for Leicester this season in what has been a pretty underwhelming season so far for Brendan Rodgers' side. They have managed to turn a corner a little bit towards the end of the of the first sort of half of the season, with a few good results here and there. And even when Leicester weren't winning games and weren't playing that great, Maddison was still a standout performer, and that hasn't changed. And I'm so glad that he managed to get the England call-up that he definitely deserved, desperately wanted and needed as well. So I'm glad for that. Maddison has made 13 appearances so far this campaign, scoring 7 goals and assisting 4 times for a Leicester side who, like I say, have not been performing at the expectation level that we probably thought they would at the beginning of the campaign. In saying that, Maddison's been fantastic. Maddison has been the one kind of Leicester player that has been pulling his weight, pulling the team's weight, carrying the team on his back a little bit in the first bit of the season. Deservedly got his England call up, and it'd be interesting to see where he goes from here. There was much speculation about him in the summer. Could have been off to Newcastle, could have been off to Tottenham. Arsenal was seemingly interested at one point or another as well. Very interesting to see what the future holds for James Maddison. But yes, deserves some very good recognition for what he has done so far for the Foxes this season. For right wing, there were 3 very strong contenders for this role. First up, we have got Bukayo Saka. 4 goals and 6 assists in 14 appearances in the league so far this season for Arsenal. Made him a very, very strong contender indeed. He's obviously been a part of the Arsenal squad that are top of the table right now. Things are going well for Saka right now, and he was very unfortunate, I guess you'd say, to miss out on being in this position. I also looked at Dejan Kulusevski as well. 1 goal and 5 assists in 9 appearances. Injury has sort of hindered him somewhat for Spurs this campaign, and you can tell that Spurs have definitely missed his creativity and his flair on that right wing due to that injury. But I think because of that injury, I could not look past the person who I decided to give this role to, and that is Miguel Almiron. And the improvement of this guy is incredible. He is on fire right now, and I think it's unfortunate that the World Cup break has happened when it is, because obviously a lot of things can happen during that break. Players can lose momentum, players can gain momentum. It's a bit of an unknown what we're going to get from Miguel Almiron going forward, because obviously we know that in previous years he's been somewhat underwhelming, somewhat not a great player to sort of watch, I guess you'd say. Works hard, don't get me wrong, definitely works hard, but in terms of his outputs for a more attacking midfielder or more of an attacker-based player, not good enough. Until this season, where he's on a mad scoring streak. He scored more goals this campaign, and obviously he's enjoying his football right now, and he's playing the best form of his career. He scored 8 goals and assisted just the once in 15 appearances for the Magpies this season. Like I say, he is certainly another player that has definitely transformed in this Newcastle team and just in the Premier League in general. And as a very much worthy player to fill this particular role. For left wing, for me, it was a toss-up between Manchester City's Phil Foden and Arsenal's Gabriel Martinelli. Now, for Foden, I think he's got actually a couple more goals and I think 1 more assist than what Martinelli has. Martinelli has played 14 games, he's got 5 goals and he's got 2 assists. So in terms of output, Foden probably takes that role. But I want to give it to Martinelli because not only has Martinelli improved this season, not only has Martinelli managed to stay off the injury table long enough to get a consistent number of games, I just think he's more of a threat and more of an exciting... I'm not saying Foden isn't exciting, but I want to watch Martinelli more than Foden. I think I know what I'm going to expect from Foden now. I know that he's just going to he's got a bit of pace about him, he's got a bit of speed about him, and he's just going to power down the left, and he's going to try and either whip it across the face of goal for someone to tap in, or he's going to try and fire it into the back of the net for himself. Martinelli, you don't know what to expect, and he's a constant thorn in defence's side. I like to watch this guy. He is very tricky to watch. He's very tricky to play against. He's very tricky in terms of his ability, in terms of his talent, in terms of his skill. You don't really know what he's going to do next. He's going to go outside, he's going to cut inside, link up with teammates is very good. I think he is a very, very good player, and I've been saying it for years. I think he's a very good player, and now he's finally starting to show it on a much more consistent enough basis. And I think, like I say, he's been a very big part of why Arsenal are where they are right now in terms of their current stance in the table, in terms of their current improvement. I think he has been fantastic for the Gunners. Like I say, it's unfortunate for Foden. I think, like I say, in terms of output and in terms of the performance that he obviously did against Manchester United earlier this season, where he himself grabbed a hat-trick alongside the hat-trick of one Erling Haaland. I think he's been great as well, but for me, Martinelli just about takes it because of his because I am excited to see him more creativity, more skill, more flair. I just think Martinelli is a fantastic player. And finally, no prizes for guessing who takes the striker role. There's only one name: Erling Haaland. We mentioned him a few times already in this video, but we can't look past this guy. He has been phenomenal since arriving in the Premier League. Some of us questioned whether or not he'd be able to cut it in the Premier League. Those people were instantly proved wrong. We questioned whether or not this guy could mould into Manchester City's philosophy and their style of play, and whether or not that he would take some time to get used to the Pep Guardiola style of play that we all know. They proved us wrong. He has been outstanding, simply put, and you know, there have been a couple of other strikers that you could have probably filled in this position had he not been in the question. Harry Kane at Tottenham has scored plenty of goals. Darwin Núñez hasn't been the flop that everyone seems to think he is. Still got a lot of question marks over him, but I don't think he's been the flop everyone talks about. Gabriel Jesus has been a fantastic signing for Arsenal, and although his goals output may not be the best, he's still a constant thorn in the side of defenders. He creates chances for his teammates, he creates chances for himself. He's been great to watch as well. But when you talk about an absolute killer up front, when you talk about a guy who has smashed records at will in his early days in the Premier League, look no further than one Erling Haaland, who has scored 18 goals and assisted 3 times in 13 appearances for Manchester City in the Premier League. He has been truly outstanding. There's been 3 hat-tricks, I think, in that as well. So half of his goals have come in 3 different games, including that incredible 6-3 victory over Manchester United in the Manchester Derby earlier this season, and what was a truly incredible performance, in which I think he also managed to pick up a couple of assists as well in that game. He has been phenomenal since arriving in the Premier League, and the scary part is this is just the beginning. The scary part for me is I find myself sitting there going, he's not even fully up to speed yet. I think there's more to come from Haaland. I think there's more to come from the Manchester City side as well, in terms of helping him to get to however many goals he wants to get to. That's the scary part for me, and is that obviously he's not even at full capacity yet. He's not even at the peak of his power. He's still finding his feet in this Manchester City squad. He's still learning the ways of Pep Guardiola. He's still learning the ways of his teammates. He's still getting a bond and a sort of understanding with those teammates. I think there is a hell of a lot more to come from one Erling Haaland going forward, and that is very much a frightening prospect for any Premier League team that comes into contact with him and comes into the crosshairs of him. But yeah, phenomenal start. Obvious choice to be in this team. A lot more to come from Erling Haaland. But of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the Premier League team of the season that I've selected so far for this campaign? What are your own thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, and of course your own team would be very interesting down below in the comments section. I'm sure it will all make for interesting reading. What is your own team of the season? I'm sure that will make for very intriguing and a good debate to have down below in the comments section. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new, want to see more content like this. Both things are always and probably greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see you all again soon in another video.